All right, settle in for a minute. If you've been feeling pulled in 100 directions lately, this one's for you. Let me start with something simple, but powerful. You are allowed to say no, not later, not when things calm down, not when you've earned it, right now. Because somewhere along the way, a lot of us learned that being a good person meant being available all the time, always helpful, always accommodating, always the one who steps in. And on the surface, that sounds like a good thing. But underneath, it turns into exhaustion when yes becomes a default. You ever notice how fast yes comes out of your mouth? Before you've even thought about it, someone asks for help, you say yes. Someone needs something last minute. You say yes. Someone assumes you'll handle it, and you don't even question it. And then later, you're standing in your kitchen, staring at the counter, wondering why you're so overwhelmed. It's not because you can't handle things. It's because you're handling everything. The invisible load. Here's the part people don't always see. It's not just the physical tasks, it's the mental load. Remembering, planning, anticipating, keeping track of everyone else's needs. And when you keep saying yes, you're adding more weight to something that's already full. Imagine trying to pour another cup of water into a jar that's already overflowing. That's what constant yes looks like. Let's tell the truth for a second. Sometimes you don't actually want to do the thing. Not because you're lazy, not because you don't care, but because you're tired. And instead of honoring that, you push through, you override it. You tell yourself, it's not that big of a deal. I'll just get it done. I can handle it. And sure, you can. But the real question is, should you have to? The cost of always showing up. Every yes has a cost. Time, energy, focus, peace. And if you never stop to ask what something is going to cost you, you end up paying for it later. Usually in the form of burnout, irritability, resentment, exhaustion. And that resentment, that's the quiet signal that something needs to change. What saying no actually does. Let's flip the script, because saying no isn't about pushing people away. It's about creating space. Space to rest, space to think, space to actually enjoy your life. When you say no to something that drains you, you're saying yes to something that supports you. Even if that something is just sitting down for 10 minutes without being needed. The fear behind number. Now let's get honest about why this is hard, because it's not just about the word no. It's about what we think will happen after we say it. We worry they'll be upset, they'll think I'm selfish, they won't ask me again. Or even deeper, they won't need me anymore. And that one hits something real. Because being needed can feel like being valued. But those are not the same thing. You are not just what you do. Your worth is not tied to how much you do for other people. Not how available you are. Not how helpful you are. Not how much you carry. You are allowed to exist without constantly proving your value. Let that sit for a second. How to start saying no without spiraling. You don't need a personality overhaul, you just need a pause. The next time someone asks you for something, don't answer right away. Give yourself space. Even if it's just, let me check and get back to you. That one sentence alone can change everything because it gives you a moment to actually ask yourself, do I have the time? Do I have the energy? Do I even want to? Keep it simple. When you do say no, keep it simple. You don't need a long explanation. You don't need to justify yourself. You don't need to soften it into something unrecognizable. I can't this time. I'm not able to take that on right now. That won't work for me. That's it. Clean. Clear. Done. The pushback, because it might happen. Let's not pretend it never happens. Sometimes people will push, not always in a mean way, but in a "are you sure" kind of way. And that's where boundaries get tested. Because if you fold right there, you're teaching people that your no doesn't mean no. Hold the line. You can be kind and still be firm. I really can't this time. Repeat it if you need to. You don't have to argue your case. You don't have to convince anyone. A little kitchen reality. Let's bring this into your everyday life. You know those nights when dinner feels like too much? Where even thinking about chopping something feels exhausting? That's a moment to practice. Instead of forcing yourself into a full, from-scratch production, say no to the pressure. No to the expectation that every meal has to be a whole event. And yes, to something easier. A freezer meal you prepped, a pantry mix you can throw together. Something simple, filling, and done. That's not giving up. That's taking care of yourself. The ripple effect. Here's what starts to happen when you do this consistently. You breathe more. You feel lighter. You stop dreading your days, and the things you do say yes to, you actually enjoy them again because they're chosen, not forced. You might surprise yourself. At first, saying no feels uncomfortable. Then it feels a little empowering, and eventually it feels normal. You stop over-explaining. You stop apologizing for everything. You start trusting your own limits. And here's the big one. The people who truly respect you will adjust. They might be surprised at first, but they will learn your boundaries, and the ones who don't, they were benefiting from your lack of boundaries. That's a hard truth, but an important one. Let's ground this. I want you to think about one thing right now. Just one. What is something you've said yes to recently that you didn't actually have the capacity for? No judgment. Just notice it. Because that's your starting point. Moving forward. You don't need to fix everything overnight. You don't need to suddenly become someone who says no to everything. Just start paying attention. Start pausing. Start choosing. Final thought. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's necessary. Because when you're constantly running on empty, you don't have anything real left to give anyway. So say no when you need to. Rest when you need to. Choose yourself without guilt.